welcome to the Creation Grounds podcast, where we break down the success, habits, and the life of people in creative fields and discover how they've gotten to where they are, what they aspire to be, and how you can live your dreams too. Let's get to the show. I'm very excited to welcome our next guest, Horace Glasper. He's from Chicago. He's come on to talk about some very important things, I think, and we're just going to dive right in, Horace.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about growing up in Chicago.
Well, growing up in Chicago, I'm from the south suburbs outside the city of Chicago, so I spent a lot of time growing up in the burbs as well as, growing up in the city too. But growing up in Chicago, man, during the time that I grew up around the 90s, it was a very different time, man. It had its rough areas, its rough parts, but for the most part, Chicago is very diverse as far as the cultures. But it was very different, man. Different than what it is now. But it was fun. I learned a lot. I grew a lot, and a lot of things that I still remember from me growing up. I still hold on to this day. As far as good positive things from the city. Definitely, I would definitely say it helped me become a better businessman and a better hustler, as you can say it. Just coming up in Chicago, it basically is really like survival of the fittest. It's like if you're not, if you don't have if anything is weak about you, it will be found out very quickly. And, it's very, it's hard, man. It's hard. But if you can make it out of Chicago, you can definitely make it anywhere.
So you clearly made it out, so that says something about your character and your strength. When were you introduced to acting and writing?
Well, acting and writing came a little bit further in my career. When I initially first started, I started doing stand-up, and that was around the time I was like 15, 16 years old. And I had one of my best friends that's, I say he's like my brother. And, I talked to him one day, and I was like, man, I really want to do comedy. And he was like, do comedy? He was like, man, you're not no comedian? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm funny. And so, from there, I did like my first show actually in his basement. And then from there, I, started to do a lot of research on different comedians like Richard Pryor, Pryor-Koviches, and other life sentences. That was like my Bible at the time, because I walked around everywhere with that book and pretty much read it from front to back. And, from there, I kind of identified exactly what I was as far as an entertainer. And, somebody that actually, is very talented. So I started doing stand-up at a pizzeria, actually, that was like a couple blocks away from my house. And then from there, I was actually able to get introduced to the other comedians that were coming up in the city. Some was on television, some, were just local acts. And basically, I worked my way around and made my rounds. And then when I had moved out to L.A., that's when I kind of really started to touch acting, because that's when I actually got involved in my first movie, which was Cutting the Mustard with Brandon T. Jackson and Sinbad and Keisha Knight-Poole. So that is what pretty much jump-started everything. And then the writing came later on when I moved to New York.
And when did you move to New York? How long ago was that?
Well, I was at least maybe like 6 years ago. I would definitely say like 7 years ago. I moved to New York. I was actually living in Oklahoma at the time. Don't ask me why, but I was down there. And, I was down there for a short duration of time. And then I basically just made up my mind that, if I was really going to go after my dream and really go after this, I said I needed to go to the best place in the world as far as, to grow as a actor, as a writer, and just as an entertainer in general. So when I made that move, I booked myself a one-way ticket on Southwest, and I haven't been back anywhere else since. So pretty much I started, just dug my heels in here and just got into the grind.
You've been riding ever since, man. So that takes a lot of it sounds like you've had a very interesting journey, and there's something obviously sustaining you through that. Would you say that purpose? What was the moment that you found your purpose, or for sure that this is what you want to do? What sustained you through that?
I would definitely say my purpose came to me early in my life because I always knew I was different. I always knew, it was something about me that was special. I always knew that God had a calling for me. I just didn't know what it was. I wasn't cut out for the streets. I wasn't cut out, to be just a regular, 9 to 5 worker or, not to knock anybody that does that, because as actors, you have to have, something to sustain yourself, between gigs. And, I just wasn't the type that was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to go to college and do this and bachelor's and master's. I just kind of knew early that I was called for something. And that purpose just kind of really came knocking when it was like, no matter what, you can make people laugh. No matter what, you can put a smile on somebody's face. No matter what room you're in. And, when I was in the room with some of like, most toughest, most gangsters people and just being able to make them bust up, crack up laughing. And it kind of let me know like, hey, man, my purpose is for me to be an entertainer. And that's what I knew.
That's dope. And if you had to sum your purpose up in one sentence, do you have any idea of what that would be? Is it to make people laugh or to bring joy to the world, or how would you define your purpose in one sentence?
I would say my purpose in one sentence is uh, I would just say one sentence: shine my light.
Shine your light.
Shine my light.
That's dope, man. And how the entertainment industry, it's no mystery that it can be tough sometimes, for sure. So how do you think having a purpose serves you and sustains you in the entertainment industry versus not having a purpose, let's say?
I would definitely say when you know what you're called to do, and like some people say, oh well, I'm gonna be an actor, and they kind of really don't understand mentally what it takes to actually endure it. Like the nights where you're not even going to be able to eat, or the nights that you may not know where you're going to sleep, or the nights that you may wake up the next day and you may not have money to, get to the next gig. Just mentally, just with the not knowing, it can really drag a person down. And I've seen a lot of people say come to New York, or a lot of people come to LA with just high hopes and high dreams, but they don't understand truly what their purpose is as far as why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you out here? And they basically go back to where they came from, just heartbroken. So when you know what your purpose is, it allows you to keep yourself fed the nights that you're going to go hungry. It allows you to be able to keep yourself sane when, you feel like your whole world is falling apart. It allows you to be able to keep yourself happy when you don't have a dime or a dollar in your pocket. So when you know that purpose is for you to actually be able to, touch people, then, it's going to sustain you throughout all those obstacles and trials that you're going to go through.
And for the audience, if somebody, because purpose can be tricky sometimes, especially for somebody that doesn't know their purpose. Sometimes people are a little murky on it. So how would you say somebody could find their purpose? How could somebody find that why, that extra ignition that can really sustain them and propel them through their goals, their dreams, and aspirations?
I would definitely say definitely pray on it first. You can't, no one man is an island, so definitely pray on it. Definitely look around your surroundings. Look, you be the people that say they may see you every single day, and they may notice it's something that you do every single day. That every single time they see you, they're like, man, you always making sure that you dress nice. You always make sure that you tidy up, or you always make a person laugh, or you always make sure that you drive good. So that may turn into, okay, well, you want to know what you're going to be a fashion designer, or you might be a chauffeur or a driver, or anything. So definitely look to the man upstairs and look to the people that you surround yourself around. But most importantly, look at yourself. I feel like when you know your purpose, it's the main thing that a lot of people tend to either run away from or shy away from. I feel like a lot of us know what we're supposed to do, but we let that fear hold us back. The fear of doubt, the fear of, I may not make it, or the fear of failure. So when you pretty much are running away from that one thing that you know that you're supposed to do, that is what God called for you to do. Because some of us miss our callings when it's literally like right in front of us. So
That's a great point. You touched on something. You touched on that fear thing, that fear of failure, that fear of success. Some people have fear of success. It's a very interesting thing, and I kind of want to kind of expand on that in terms of, because something that I kind of like. I think the worst thing for me is regret.
yeah,
Regret is the worst emotion I think that anybody could feel, and some like how to get to blast through that fear, to blast through fear of failure, fear of success, or ridicule, humiliation, any kind of thing.
yeah.
How do you like kind of get through that and realize that your purpose and what's standing in front of you is more important than the fear?
Well, I mean, we're always going to be scared. That's
For
that's
sure.
that's never going to go away. I mean, it's always going to be something in this world that somebody's going to fear. But it's the key thing is not letting the fear consume you, and not letting the fear, just engulf you. Great boxing trainer by the name of Customato once said that you want to turn your fear and turn it into fire. Fire can keep you warm. Fire can cook your food. Fire can, do a lot of things, but fire can also, burn you up. Fire can kill you. So the thing is that I would say is that if you're scared of it, kind of uh, really understand, like, okay, yes, you are scared, but if you never do it, and you're always going to let that fear be in your heart, then that's something that you're going to have to walk around with to the day that you die. And I feel like that when you just give it at least an honest effort, and that honest effort could be the smallest thing, like, say like if you're looking at something, just doing the research on it, just looking it up, or say like if you want to go on stage, just go to a comedy club, sit in the audience, you don't have to go up there and do exactly what it is that you're supposed to do right then and right there, but taking the small steps, taking the baby steps. If you're reading a book, if you're going to the dealership and say you would say I want this car, but you don't have the money for it, and you're afraid that the car salesman may laugh you out the building. Sit in the car. You know what I'm saying? Sit in the car, touch the car. Look at it. Say, okay, well, you want to know what? One day this is going to be mine. Set that goal for yourself. And maybe 5 years, and maybe 10 years, and maybe 15 years, but at least you're taking that step towards actually conquering that fear and conquering that goal. And you'll be surprised that those small steps, even those small steps count too. So,
For sure. So touching on what you just said, if somebody wants to do comedy, go to the comedy club.
yeah.
With purpose, do you personally have any resources, books, websites that the audience could benefit from in terms of somebody that's looking for their purpose or hasn't found it yet?
I would definitely say Les Brown. I went to a speaking seminar of his, and he really touched on a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about right now. But definitely Les Brown. Live Your Dream is a great book. Also, his speech that he did in the Superdome in Atlanta was a great tool. You can look that up on YouTube. Um, the Tyrese book, Getting Out of Your Own Way, is a great book to help you find your purpose. Um, it's a lot. It's a ton of stuff that's actually out there as far as different resources. But definitely, I would say definitely starting there. Also, by James Allen, he wrote a great book called As a Man Thinketh. Is a great book if you're looking to find your purpose and kind of really tap into your mental. Um, that is a great resource that helped me out a lot over the years, by James Allen. And just definitely anybody that inspires you, I would say that you look up to. Sit down, listen to that person, research that person. Listen to how they speak. Listen to what they say. Read their stories. Read autobiographies are incredible if you're talking about doing anything. because it's always somebody that did it, and you should always look at that person, whoever that person is, the top person in that industry, read their autobiography or read their biography, and just sit down with it and just understand, like, okay, the sacrifices that's going to come along with, like whatever your dream is, and tapping into that purpose that you're called to do, because whatever it is that you're called to do, God knows it. He's the Alpha and Omega. He's the beginning and the end. It's just like finding diamonds. Diamonds are not going to be put in plain sight. You have to dig for them. Gold is not going to be put in plain sight. You got to dig for it. So it's the same thing with your purpose. Whatever your purpose is, you have to dig for it. You can't just expect that it's just going to just be, just in such plain sight that you're just going to just be able just to, grab it, and then like you're automatically going to fall into it. It may take you some time, but once you find it and you find out whatever it is, it's the most rewarding thing that you're ever going to have in your whole entire life. So definitely.
That's real, man. So we both come from kind of inner cities, Chicago being a major one.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody listening, lately in Chicago, we all know there's been a lot of violence, a lot of young lives being taken.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned earlier that it's not the same
Mm-hmm.
as when you're coming up.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give a practical, actionable way of a young child right now listening who might be astray or just on the wrong path, how would you encourage that person to choose a better path for themselves, and what would it be? Particularly if they don't like reading. Let's say a child doesn't really like reading, but they really need to find some kind of way just to live another day, or need that encouragement to get through the situation, living in the crack,
I would sit down with the brother, and I would just ask him, what is it that you want out of life? I'll just ask him just real straightforward questions. I feel like when we try to throw so much knowledge on a person that's not in a positive environment is not going to be so quickly to embrace it as somebody that is not in a positive environment. People that are in the struggle and they're seeing people getting shot, killed every day, they're seeing people getting locked up every day, they're basically looking like, what the hell is this book going to do for me? When I go home and I open up my refrigerator and I ain't got nothing to eat. What is this book going to do for me? When I don't, have any way, to feed my family. What is this book going to do for me? When I don't, have, any clean clothes to put on, anywhere to sleep. So I would definitely just sit down and ask the young brother or the young sister, what it is that you really want out of life? Where do you really see yourself? If you see yourself in a better place than where you're at right now, then okay, let's start there. Whatever it is that you want, don't ever think that it's either too big or too far, that you can't get it. But at the same exact time, you got to be honest. You got to be real with yourself. If you're out here in the streets, how do you expect to get yourself into a better situation if you're locked up somewhere, or, if you're dead somewhere? So I would definitely just be real straightforward with them, and just basically just get to the heart of whatever it is that, could be taken away from, whatever that situation is, and just say, hey, look, I don't have all the answers, but, I can answer, some of your questions, and I would just really just kind of just be honest with them, because I feel like that's what's missing, is the honesty with us as elders and the youth. Everybody is just trying to be, well, I know this, I know that. You don't know everything. We all don't know everything. We don't know what the weather's going to be tomorrow. So how can we sit up here and tell this young brother or young sister, what their life is going to turn out, if they don't do this or they don't do that, or I got the best remedy or solution or answer for you. You don't know. So at the end of the day, all you can do is basically just be an ear or a shoulder for them to kind of vent whatever their frustration is, because it's a lot of pent-up anger that a lot of these kids are walking around with, and they don't have anybody to talk to. They don't have any outlets. They don't have any places to go, any recreational centers, any basketball teams or football teams to play on. They don't have any areas that they can really kind of, like vent vent their energy out, so they don't have anywhere to go but the streets. The schools are being closed down, so it's a lot that's going on that these kids are dealing with. So we have to be, the ones that are smart enough to say, okay, well, you want to know what? Despite what's going on, you know, you don't have to live like this. You know what I'm saying? This may be your situation, but this isn't, you know what I'm saying, your destination. So I would just be honest and be straightforward and just say, okay, well, you want to know what? If I can do it, you can do it. But at the same exact time, you know, what worked for me may not work for you. So let's decide exactly what it is that you want, and let's make that map so we can go on here and get you out of here.
That's real, man. And you know, something else. I think them seeing you coming from the same environment could inspire them too.
Yeah.
You know, that ties into purpose a little bit. So we know that you just had a child yourself. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
You're a daddy now.
Thank you. I'm Papa.
So if you could leave your kid with 3 ideas that would never ever leave them, no matter what, that would help them live a purpose-filled life, what would those 3 ideas be?
Never give up on your dreams. Keep God first. And love yourself.
It's dope, man. What are you currently writing in or acting in?
Well, currently right now, I just I'm working with a show with Shades of Truth Theater called True Bone. We recently just wrapped up our run of shows that we did in Harlem as well as in Queens and, you know, all throughout the city. So I'm wrapping that up, and I'm going to be doing a show with the Negro Ensemble, a showcase show in the next week. And, you know, I'm also going to be writing my movie that's actually going to take place in Chicago. So I'm really close to finishing that, and I'm extremely excited about getting that shot. So, you know, between that and, you know, just constantly writing, I just dropped a couple of projects with Black History Mini Doc. I dropped a Ron Van Cleef short documentary film, as well as I recently did one on the Panthers honoring their 50th year anniversary of the Panther Party being started. So, you know, doing that and in between that and, you know, just writing and just getting on these stages, man, you know, just staying hungry. That's all. So.
You have a web series too, right? Or something.
I have a web series.
What's the name of that if anybody wants to check that out?
40 and Leroy, Crazy in New York. And we have the whole 3 seasons that are actually up on the web right now. So if you want to check it out, you can check it out on www.40andleroy.com. And it's a lot of great content. Great reviews have been, you know, written and said about the show. You know, we're actually looking at, you know, revamping the series and, you know, going into like another season. But currently right now, you know, with everybody doing separate projects and stuff like that, you know, we're just trying to just get it all back together. But, yeah, man, that was a classic series, man, that I actually shot when I first came to New York. And, you know, 1 episode turned into 2, 2 turned into 3, 3 turned into, you know, 3 years of us shooting it. So it was a great, great series, and I recommend anybody that's looking to laugh. You know, the webisodes are not that long. They're maybe like 5 minutes at the most. So, you know, it's great, short webisodes, and it's a great series, very funny, very edgy, and, you know, very catching. So, definitely.
Okay, Horace, anything else you'd like to share?
Definitely, man. I'll just say thank you for having me. You know, everybody that's actually looking to, you know, follow their dreams or follow their goals, I feel like now is the time. You know, don't let anything hold you back, and don't let anybody hold you down. And just stay focused, man. That's all.
Word, man. How can we contact you? You got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Facebook, you can check me out on my first and my last name, Horace Glasper. That's gonna connect you to my main page, and you can check me out on Instagram at Young Horace, YOUNGHORACE, and you can check me out on 40andleroy.com, and check me out on BlackHistoryMiniDocs.com. You can, you know, check out some of my work there too as well. Yeah, so we coming, man. So just be on the lookout.
Dope, man. It's been a pleasure, bro. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right, man.
Much respect.
That's it for this episode of The Creation Grounds. I'm your host, Aaron Lloyd. Be sure to check out our Instagram for future and previous guest info, and check out our YouTube channel in the show notes below. Email us with any suggestions at thecreationgrounds@gmail.com. And if you got something out of this, I'd really appreciate if you spread the word and the love. Until next time, this is Aaron Lloyd telling you that the sky is the limit. Stay creative.